was a couple years ago?
Yeah,
A
yeah.
different project?
Well, no, I mean this is the one I've had a couple of projects that I've worked on, but they've gone nowhere.
Okay,
Um, but this is the one that seems to be getting some interest. So
excellent.
yeah,
Um, Question. Where are you, by the way? Where are you right now? Part of the
I'm
country?
in Florida.
You're in Florida. Okay. My grandparents retired in Florida.
Where
I've been
at?
to Hallandale.
Oh, I'm in Jacksonville.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's jump right in. I had a few questions
Sure.
before we begin, but well, as part of the process. Why did you write this particular uh, question? Do you have a script, or is this just
No, I have
the
a script.
you do have a script? Okay,
Mhm.
great. Okay. What was uh, what was it about this particular subject matter
Well, I
that?
played football,
Okay, well, there you
um, high school,
go. Big.
college, and I know that I've gotten banged in the head a few times. And when I was playing, there wasn't much attention paid to any kind of concussion.
Sure,
It
of
was
course.
what it was. And um, when I decided to write this, there was seemed to be a lot of chatter and news on the, during football games and all about concussions, this and that. And I knew something about this report that wasn't published back in around early 90s, that's
Mm,
92 or so, from the NFL, reporting on concussions and the severity of it and its association with sports, particularly football at the time.
mm-hmm.
Then there were news reports about players committing suicide, uh, being pretty much
Yeah, I
ignored
remember.
by the NFL.
Yeah.
And so I decided, this seems like a good subject to talk about. I know the game. I know how coaches can be, at least old school coaches. And watching football long enough, I know how the league can react, and I know how our society is in terms of the dollar bill and
Mm,
how they pursue it.
got it.
And there's a lot of selfishness involved. There's a lot of greed, and oftentimes,
So,
whether you're in a corporation, whether you're in a football team or a basketball team, you're a pawn basically.
mhm.
That's why I wrote it.
So it's personal.
Yeah,
Personal, which
it's
is great.
personal, and
That
then it's
was sort of
also
the
it's
answer, and that's actually more of an answer that I even expected. That this really is close to you, which is helpful if you're writing about something that you truly, truly know about. But go ahead. You were saying?
yeah, it's personal, but it's also it wants I wanted to make people aware that there are those who scream for help, and oftentimes it's ignored, whether it be mental health, whether it be well, this is considered a mental health issue, as I would think so.
Mm-hmm.
But there are all degrees and all kinds of mental health that people, whether it be depression, whether it be schizo, something, but people want help and they're ignored.
Right.
And I think they deserve a voice somehow.
That's
That's
great. That's great. That's a perfect answer, actually. Because you're more likely to stick with something that is important to you and has purpose, is what you're talking about. There's a purpose.
absolutely, yeah.
There's a purpose to this. Um, so good. Okay. One thing I want to address right off the bat is genre, because it says drama and what is that? Sport. Yeah, sports drama. But it's interesting because, I mean, you can't necessarily get it from this 6 pages of the proof of concept, but it definitely feels as if it could go in the direction of more of a revenge, vigilante justice. Because from what we're talking about, you are making it clear that there was there was an injustice done,
Hmm.
and kind of still is an injustice, although they have been making changes to the game, some fairly
Right.
substantial, some very controversial, but what so you have the script. So I guess my question is the script go in the direction of a drama, or does it go, is he out there killing these guys, or does it
He's not
become,
out there killing these guys, and it really doesn't come to a revenge factor until the probably the last quarter of the movie, maybe the last third of the movie. So
okay,
it's basically a he's a complicated character in that he has he plays the violin. He's a classical
yes,
violinist, and he loves classical music, but at the same time he's involved in this violent game of football. You know, his wife, he is married, and his wife is a classical violinist as well. And she's always leaning toward, why didn't you stay with music? Why did you go to this lousy game? And in the
hmm
beginning, it starts out with him getting these headaches and him kind of figuring something's not right, but he keeps on playing. Goes to
so
the,
this I'm sorry to
oh, go
interrupt you.
ahead, go ahead.
So these 6 pages are not the beginning of the movie.
No, it's not the
Okay,
beginning of the movie. No,
okay,
it's not. When I wrote the proof of concept, I wasn't quite sure how to do that.
sure.
And so I tried to uh,
Is
touch
it in the
on,
movie, or is this something completely separate?
it's in the movie, but it's
Okay,
toward the end. It's,
got it,
it's, it's parts of the movie. Let's put it that way. But it's there. It's
got it.
there. You would be able to pick it up if you read the script.
Okay.
And yeah, I didn't take one scene, but I tried to include different elements of the script in the 6 pages. Um, with his paranoia, with these guys chasing him, he owes money. He was a gambler. He lost a
Right.
lot of bucks. So that's on his mind. His wife has divorced him, or she wants to divorce him because of how he's turning out.
Mm-hmm.
He used to be a really nice fella, and now he's becoming schizo in many ways.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So his whole personality has gone off the rail.
Downhill. Right, off the rails. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, right. Okay. Um, so let's talk specifically about these 6 pages, because and we'll also talk about the log line. I have some ideas of how to make that
Okay.
more gripping. But now that we're talking about it, you're saying it is more of a drama. I don't know if it'll apply. We'll talk about it anyway, because you might glean something from it that you can
Hmm.
apply to your log line. Um, so hold on, let me bring it up. Okay. So there is one thing that jumped out at me right away, and that I can pretty much guarantee you is going to improve your proof of concept 1,000%. Um, and it has to do with the structure, the way that you've, and I'm just wondering. I think having a discussion about it and me asking some questions, as opposed to me just saying, okay, this is what you do to fix it, might be more productive. We have some time than just jumping into what I think you should do to fix it. Does that make sense? I mean, it's
Hmm.
up to you.
Tell me what you think I should
Okay.
do.
Okay. I think it's probably beneficial to spend a minute just you asking yourself some questions based on the questions I'm asking you, to see if you can sort of conclude what the solution would be, if you would. So, for example, um, generally, when you're writing a proof of concept, you want to, or really writing any material, you want to have the audience asking questions. You want to have them engage. You want, a bit of a mystery to solve. So they have something to keep them watching. And structurally, and ideally rather, you have like a big reveal, some sort of exclamation point at the end. Pretty much spelling it out for you. But so the way that you've structured this, how would you restructure it possibly to create uh, to create more questions for the audience, to have them have to figure out what's going on in those 6 pages?
It's funny you should say that because I've gone through numerous reviews with Film Freeway.
Yes, I don't know what that
And
is.
and that's always been my thinking about leaving a question.
Uh-huh.
It's always been my thinking. I always felt that if I go to a movie and it goes from one scene to the next, I want to have a few questions in my mind where we're going with this.
Exactly.
And that's initially how I had it. And when I would give comments back from Film Freeway, well, where are we going with this? And what does this all mean? And it would drive me absolutely bananas
Mm.
because this is what I wanted to create, but somehow it evolved into something that they wanted to create.
I don't know. Explain to me what Film Freeway is. I'm
Well,
sorry. I
it's
don't.
this association that I mean, first of all, they control all of these short films and these
Okay.
short film festivals, okay?
Right.
But Get It Made has this association with them where we would send on a monthly basis
Hmm.
for a free evaluation, well, free
Okay.
based on what we pay Get It Made,
Right. 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 Right.
uh, of our proof of concept, and they would
Right.
give us a grade on it,
Okay. Got it.
okay? And so you go through the whole process every month. They'd send you comments and you try to fix it according to their comments. And then you end up with something where it wasn't really what you started out with, you know.
Hmm.
I totally agree with you. I
Mm.
I couldn't agree with you more that I think that leaving, especially with the proof of concept,
Yeah. Yes.
that
Yes.
you
Yes.
need to
Short
have
film's
you need,
different, by the way.
right,
Film is different.
you need to keep these people hungry for what they want, you know, and it's like anything. It's teaching popcorn to football. You don't have a season that's 4 months long. You have a season that's 2 months old. Keep the kids hungry so they want to come back next year and play some more. That's how I
Mm.
always look at it.
Right. Well,
Um,
I think we're in agreement about
yeah,
that. I don't know sort of what the intentions were necessarily behind those critiques, but from what I read, and by the way, this is simply my opinion, my take on it. Um, I think that the actions, the events that happen in those 6 pages, in and of themselves, are very, very gripping, very, very dramatic, very, very emotional, that they will hold the audience without you having to spell out what exactly is going on in every moment. And that is the other general note I had. And this probably came out of you trying to apply notes that you were given,
yeah,
which is that it number one, generally, as a general note, you don't want to have a character talking to themselves on screen. You rarely see that on screen. Now, obviously, we have a guy in a room alone, so there does have to be some level of dialogue to explain the story. But what I would do is go back and look and see what you could explain, what you could clarify through visuals, through actions, through behavior versus literal dialogue, which is in essence, exposition that is sort of spelling out what is happening. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
there is too much for my liking of the exposition of him explaining, you know, I'll give you an example. I have nothing, no wife, no friends, no money. They're all in on it. There's just dialogue, and there's things that are even more um, literal than that. Uh, the less you could do of that, the better.
Okay.
Oh, I think what we're getting at, I think we're getting towards the same place, which is the reveal, which is the news story that is now in the beginning. What if you put that at the end? So we see Harry deteriorating in front of our eyes. We see him hallucinating with his wife and the mob boss, and then the headaches coming on, him contemplating even attempting suicide. All of these things are happening, but we don't necessarily know why, except we want to know why. We want to know what the fuck is happening with this guy. Jesus, I mean, he is in bad shape. And then at the end, the light bulb, and you have an incredible moment, a climax where he's seconds away from blowing his brains out when the news story comes on. And that also is in the inciting incident. That's what motivates him then to do what he does for the rest of the movie. So it actually could be the opening scene, or in at least in the first act, because it does kind of set it up perfectly. Does that make sense?
Yeah. In the opening scene, he's sitting there contemplating this suicide.
Yes.
Okay. But then
Yes.
it jumps to a football game.
Yes.
All right. And then I set it up with some of these guys, these gangsters coming after him after the game, looking for their money. Uh,
The
he
hallucinations.
no, these are real things, because he's
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you talking about the actual script?
the actual script.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Sorry. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so in the end, um, he does seek revenge. I mean, the actual script.
Right.
But he doesn't really kill these people.
Right.
He kills
Okay. Good.
himself in front of these people.
I love that.
But before he does that, he has three people that he's kidnapped, and he shoots at each one of them, deliberately missing them.
Mm-hmm.
And the visual is there, the bullet holes in the
Right.
wall behind them. And then the next thing you know, that you're not seeing it, but his good friend and his wife are trying. They're like one step behind
Mm.
because they know that he's up to no good. And before they even get to the house, they hear a gunshot. They walk in, they go to the basement, and he's dead.
Okay. Got it. Got it. Yeah. I mean, that's certainly emotionally more impactful and heavy than a sort of revenge movie, a vigilante movie where he's just going in and killing them. And it's a different genre. So I totally understand where you're going with that, and that I can see how that would be a very, very powerful way to end it in a very tragic and sad way. Um,
Yeah.
However, let's stick with the proof concept just
Hmm.
because this is your calling card. This is what's going to get it made. Um, so let's talk about more specifics. Um, so page one, but if I want to go back, are we clear in terms of what I'm saying structurally is taking the story in the beginning, putting at the end in order to have the audience in a state where they are constantly having to ask questions.
Yeah.
Now, that is going to change some of the dialogue. It's going to get rid of some of the dialogue. And I don't think you have to offer up so much information as you're doing. I think for a proof of concept, you can afford to do less and have more questions, but focus more on keeping the audience, the eyeballs on the page for 6
Mhm.
pages. So, for example, I love the way that you open it with sort of panning across. I mean, this is how I visualize it: the photos and the trophies and his medications, and there's a whole story of his whole life that is being told through these visuals, which is kind of what I'm talking about. More visuals, more action, less talking to self. I him playing the violin could be a sort of a score behind all of these visuals that we're seeing, telling his story through pictures and objects. And I was even thinking, because so music was his passion, which also shows an entire another side to the character, a sensitivity,
Mhm.
creativity, uh, which is great. It's dynamic. It's interesting. Um, so if we're hearing the violin and it's beautiful, but it's off because even his ability to play music has been affected by the brain damage, by the trauma. And so it's beautiful, but at the same time, it's kind of disturbing. It's off-putting. Um, and nobody said a word yet. So, yeah, sorry. I'm going to bring up the script again. So, yeah, we're just right now talking about this first page, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Um, so instead, we don't go to the newscast. We leave that till the end. Okay. That said, some of the dialogue, like all that dialogue's necessarily concussions. We don't. Oh, we just yeah. See all of that because already we've sort of given it all away. Like we've popped the balloon. We let the air out of the balloon. You get it?
Yeah.
Because the main event just happens and then it's all him reacting to the main event.
Yeah.
Okay. So page 2, a lot of the dialogue is again on the nose, expositional. None of it would be necessary if we restructure it. And some of them are random story points that don't necessarily have to be part of, like, it's very comprehensive. We don't need to know all the details of ultimately what's going to be in the script itself. Little minor note: Harry doesn't have to pick up the photo. It'll be clear his wife left him in the photos, action and dialogue. So we're sort of streamlining this a bit. This
Okay.
is just an idea, and you take it for what it's worth. But on page 3, end of page 2 when Dr. Bill comes. It's auditory hallucinations, correct? He's
Right.
hearing voices. It could be more dramatic and cinematic to make them visual hallucinations, to make them people actually that he's engaging with, that the audience doesn't necessarily know if they are real people or not real people,
Okay, that makes sense.
right?
Yep.
Then so okay, so this whole rampage at Dr. Bill, uh, taking out references to the concussion, obviously, because we want to save that till the very end. We just know that generally something is wrong with him. Doctor can't figure it out. You could maybe give Dr. Bill expand his dialogue a little bit. And then, okay, on page 3, he tries to kill himself. And then he does it again at the end. I think that's overkill. I think that's something dramatically you want to do once in 6 pages, and you want to save it till the very end.
It's always good to hear someone else say something like that,
Okay, is that
because
not what you've been told?
it rolls over in your head too often, these things, and you never really know what's real anymore.
Yeah, well, again, these are my opinions, but if it makes sense to you, that's a
It
good.
does make sense to me.
Okay, good. I think we're pretty much on the right track. Okay, so hold. So then we go to page 4. As I talked about, this sort of the violin sequence,
Hmm.
I would move that to the beginning and see if you can rework it in the manner that we talked about having it all visuals, all camera movement, with the score of him playing the violin underneath of all of this, as opposed to having here.
So when
My
you
note,
mention the score, uh,
well, the score would be him playing. So
right. So
yeah.
I mean, would I put the name of the piece in there, or
If you want to be specific, sure. If the readers know music, I'm assuming obviously it's a classical piece. And I would make it something that is meaningful in the context of Harry and his character, uh, and something in terms of mood that complements the
yeah,
scene.
I make Harry to a lover. I like classical, and I like the
Mhm.
Baroque era, and I love Vivaldi. So
Oh,
he's
sure.
become. Well, so does Harry. He loves Vivaldi also.
Okay.
So it might be worth putting something in there like Winter of Four Seasons or something.
Right, right. No, I actually love that piece. It was one of my father's favorite
Yeah.
pieces. He used to play it on his record player uh, in the house all the time. Um, so that's actually very familiar to me. Um, okay, so Oh yeah. Music gives a soul to the universe, life to everything. It's a little heavy-handed. It's a little too flowery. I mean, I think, sometimes something will mean a lot to us in terms of its, I don't know, spiritual meaning, its emotional meaning, but it comes to in translation, it doesn't necessarily work. That's just my opinion, but it feels just a little bit, especially in the context of everything else in it, it feels a little sappy. I'm gonna be honest with you. I wouldn't use the phrase two-bit. I think it's a little
Yeah, I
cliched.
know.
It's a
Someone
little
actually asked me about that. What does
1920s
that mean?
gangster,
I don't. I just yeah.
Uh,
Good
but
point.
um, put Nikki Eyebrow's hallucination right after Dr. Bill. Yeah, it's
I
something.
actually changed those names in the script.
Okay,
Nikki Eyebrows is no longer Nikki Eyebrows.
okay, that's
You know,
fine. I didn't have a
yeah,
note about it, but I figured it referenced something about his
yeah.
eyebrows. Probably had like thick.
It's his bushy eyebrows. Yeah.
Got it. So I just want to look between Nikki Eyebrows and Dr. Bill. Something has what you. Yeah, I would. Okay, I think this down his face. He turns to his idol violin. Oh, he goes and he plays the violin. Correct.
Hmm.
He's really been playing. I would not break up what's happening for him to go play the violin. You know, again, have that at the top. It's structurally not really helpful. We want to keep the train on the tracks.
Okay.
You get it?
Hmm.
Um, again, page 4 dialogues pretty on the nose here. See if you can get more creative, subtle with it, more subtext. Uh, get allow us to get more of a sense of who Nikki is.
Okay.
You know, you could actually expand his dialogue so we have more of a rounded character, even though it's we got 6 pages. You could have some key phrases that we get a sense of how dangerous he is, what a threat he is. Um, that he is from the streets.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Just some specifics in terms of we know who this guy is and what his relationship is to Harry and why he should be afraid of him. Um, then we go to page 5. Again, if we're going with our idea of putting it at the end, you would not reference the concussions yet. So you would take that out. Uh, so just an idea, as opposed to she forgot her keys, that she has left him. And maybe in the context, he thinks she's coming back to reunite, to apologize, to that it's something more substantive than she just forgot her keys. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
Um, and then a little minor note, he says, I will let you in out loud. It just seemed odd to me that you just don't let her in. You don't have to announce it.
Right. Right. Right.
Right. Uh, and then it says use Coach Baroni's line to open their conversation. Change Harry dialogue to defending his record, loyalty, and commitment to the team. Maybe pleads not to be let go. Almost like he's going back in time and he's reliving this conversation. Okay. And then we get to the finale, really, the climax. And we've everything is sort of built on top of it, and until we get to this point where he has so deteriorated, so that his mind has cracked. This is the cracking point, that he attempts to kill himself, and boom, the like magic, the newscast comes on, which stops him, which motivates the rest of the movie, is the inciting incident. And then the audience is left going, oh shit, where is it going to go from here? Wow. And the mystery is now solved. Mystery is solved, but the movie's just begun. Now the good stuff happens. Now he gets his revenge, or however it ends up being, as you said. So he doesn't, it's not literally, he
Right,
doesn't go and kill a bunch of
right.
people. So yeah, so that's what I have for that. First of all, do you have any questions at this point?
No, I only have a I have your comments. I mean, I really appreciate your comments
Thank you.
because this is what I try to do. It's been my intent you got to, I understand you got to build
Mm-hmm.
these things to come to some sort of crescendo at the end.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's about. And
Mm-hmm. And a
but
lot of
hearing,
that is there, by the way.
pardon
So
me?
a lot of that is there.
Yeah,
I think, again, you just let the air out of the balloon at the
a
beginning.
little too early.
Yeah. Instead of
Yeah.
blowing it up, and letting it pop at the end.
Yeah, I mean, these things stick in my mind often when I'm writing,
Yeah.
and I try to build on stuff, and allow for questions in the audience's
Yeah.
minds.
Well, that's what keeps
That's
them
important.
watching.
I mean, I always look for that when I look at a movie, that's something that
Yeah. And again, going back to the general note, I think just is there's too much exposition and explaining and spelling out going on throughout this, as opposed to giving the audience a little more credit, the reader a little more credit, and say, okay, they can figure it out. They're smart.
It's funny.
Um,
It's funny about the exposition too, because we were watching. We just got caught on watching the Tom Hanks movie again with him stuck on the island by himself
yes,
with Wilson. And there's so much of the movie with no dialogue.
yeah, it's a guy alone, and that's
It's
what
a
I'm
guy
saying. You
alone,
don't generally
until he
want to have
finds
a guy alone.
Wilson.
Well, that's why they created Wilson, so he could have some
Yeah,
dialogue.
but I mean, and I said to my wife, "There's no dialogue in this thing. When you think about it, there's absolutely no dialogue. It's all action."
Yeah, yeah, and it was a great movie.
And it was
He's
a great movie.
very, very effective at doing that.
Yeah,
And yeah, you should watch it again and then apply it to this.
sure, sure.
Um, so I think we're kind of out of time here, but yeah. So, but I would encourage you to keeping on. Apply the changes, and uh, and I would love to hear what happens with this.
We'll
You
see what
know,
happens.
yeah, we'll see. It's a tough business. You
Oh,
know,
it's a very tough business. I know
yes,
that.
it is.
Yeah,
Trust me, I
yeah.
know.
And
Uh,
my feeling has always been that, you see, I don't even have this kind of a background. My background's in science. I was in
and
clinical
you played
research.
football.
And I played football. I was in clinical research for my entire career.
Mm-hmm.
And when I retired, I just started writing. But I wanted
Right.
to write. I knew I was going to make any money. If I don't make money, I don't make money off it. That's okay. I don't have to worry about putting food on the table. I'm okay.
That's good.
But I wanted to do something. I wanted to write well. That's all I
Yeah.
want.
Well, you definitely can write, you
Thank
know?
you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you definitely have a knack for it. I think you just need some guidance, some input, like we all do,
Sure.
and help you sort of find the story that you want to tell.
That's why I appreciate this because I do appreciate the guidance.
Great.
Oh.
Well, enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
And
You too. You're not anywhere near these fires, are you?
no, 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 I'm not. I'm in the middle of the city in Hollywood and surrounded by concrete. So no fires are getting to me.
Well, good luck to you because yeah, my
Yeah,
daughter's
it's
out there now.
insane. I had a business up in Palisades, though, up until a couple of years ago. My ex-wife and I, and I think it's still fine. Not that I care. I don't have a I don't have the business anymore. But yeah, it's very, very close. The school
Yeah,
burned down, their high school. It's crazy,
yeah.
crazy. It's great. 20, $30 million homes gone.
Jesus, it's
Yeah.
insane.
It's California, man.
It's
We
California's
got,
right.
you got hurricanes, we got fires.
Right, but you got fires and hurricanes at 100 mile-an-hour winds.
Oh, it's exaggerated. It ain't like Florida. But yeah, no, this is an anomaly. It's never like 80 miles an hour winds. That never happens. Never
That's
happens.
crazy. It's insane. Well, listen, Ben, thank you so much. I
Yeah,
appreciate your time,
absolutely. Thank you.
and
It was a pleasure.
I'm glad you enjoyed the script anyhow, and I
I
appreciate
did.
your
I
comments.
did.
All
Yeah,
right.
it was a lot of fun. All right. Talk to you
Take
later.
care. Okay. Bye.